All right, again, thank you all for joining. We'll get started here momentarily. All right, thank you everyone for joining. My name is Terry Kirshner. I'm the Director of Channels and Marketing at BlueSky Technology Partners. I'm going to be hosting today's call. Today's speakers include Brian Strauss, who's the Director of Field Engineering at Tealeaf, and Angela Opalinski, she's a Principal Business Analyst here at BlueSky. For today's agenda, we'll spend a few minutes on BlueSky, then I'm going to turn it over to Brian, who will introduce you to IBM Tealeaf solution for customer experience management. We'll then have Angela speak to the integration of Tealeaf with WebSphere Commerce, and then we'll have some time for questions and answers. At this time, each of you are on mute, but when we get to the question and answer session, we'll allow for open dialogue. So at that time, you'll be able to unmute your phone. You can do that through the WebEx. I can also do it for you. If you want to submit any questions via chat, you have that option through the WebEx as well. Feel free to do that. Let me give you a little bit of information about BlueSky Technology Partners. While we started back in 2006, the team of experts here have been working with WebSphere Commerce since 1997. Actually, it was back before it was even known as WebSphere Commerce. We're an Indiana-based company here in Noblesville, Indiana, but we have consultants across the country and Canada. We actually have customers across the country, but many of those have a global presence, so some of our solutions extend out into countries, I believe over 200 countries across the world. Here in Indiana, in 2011, we were designated as an Indiana company to watch, and I believe that anyone who started following us, they've not been disappointed. We've continued to grow year after year, and we've been very successful. We've also been recognized in Indiana as the best place to work for 3 years in a row. To us, that means we're able to attract and retain highly skilled and qualified employees. And again, our employees are not only in Indiana, but they are across the U.S. and Canada. So really being recognized in Indiana helps us attract employees across the country. BlueSky is a premier partner, an IBM premier partner with Smarter Commerce Authorization, which means we've gone through an approval process. We have the skills and the certification required by IBM, as well as the satisfied customers that's also required by IBM to have these designations. I mentioned earlier that our core leadership team has been working with WebSphere Commerce since 1997, but on average, all of our consultants have over 10 years experience with WebSphere Commerce as well. Our consultants have a deep understanding of retail, manufacturing, distribution, and life sciences industries, and as a matter of fact, some of our employees have come from these industries. BlueSky offers a full range of solutions and services, including, of course, e-commerce and customer experience management that we're going to be talking about today, but also content management and creative design. We recently launched Commerce on Cloud in addition to our standard hosting offering, and we're also an IBM software reseller. Here's a quick view of some of our business-to-consumer customers, many of which you guys should all recognize the logos on this. And then here's a quick view of our business-to-business customers. Again, these are very recognizable companies. We are proud to say that many of our customers have been with us since day one. Are you guys seeing the screen move forward? Brian, can you see the screen move forward okay? We have technical difficulties.
Yeah, I'm keeping up just fine.
Okay.
If you're on the logo side on the B2B customers, it's great.
Okay, thanks. So going back to our business-to-consumer customers, again, just like our business-to-business, just like our business consumers, they're very recognizable brands. We're proud to say that, again, many of our customers have been with us since day one. We've been there with them as they continue on their e-commerce journey. We believe that a significant part of the journey that our customers go down for their e-commerce is customer experience management. And customer experience management enables businesses to understand their online customers and provide a streamlined and efficient buying experience. With that, I'd like to turn this over to Brian Strauss. Again, Brian is with IBM Tealeaf, and IBM Tealeaf is the leader in customer experience management. So, Brian, take it away, please.
Thank you very much. So yes, I'm going to take you on a little tour today. I realize that you guys probably have heard of Tealeaf. You've probably maybe seen a presentation, or you've at least come to understand a little bit about the technology. Most people, when they have heard of Tealeaf secondhand or thirdhand, or sometimes even firsthand, they come away with the idea that it's sort of this customer experience as we see it as kind of this replay thing. And it certainly is part of that, and that's a very memorable aspect of what we do. But what I want to try to do today is, give you the sense of where the real focus of our solution is. Replay is an aspect of what we do, but how do we actually position this as a solution relative to other things that people are doing to understand customer experience online? How does this fit into an organization that has already sort of addressed, data, getting data from customers, whether it's web analytics or instrumentation or, using surveys? How does this work in the middle of that, and why is there a need for something like Tealeaf over and above what people are already doing? I'll touch a little bit on how it works, and then we'll talk about the WebSphere stuff as we hand it off to Angela. But really the idea is I just want you guys to get a good sense of where Tealeaf fits in the market and the purpose of what it's for and why people buy it. So go to the next slide. So this is sort of an interesting slide I like to pause on because, you think about this as the traditional brag slide. I think what's actually interesting about this slide in some ways is in addition to seeing the nice logos there, and then you can see the 5 sort of key verticals that we focus in, I think actually what's most interesting about this slide is what's the same about all of these customers across all of these verticals. So Tealeaf is in a space called customer experience management, and it means something very specific for us. It's really, we're focused on transactional applications, whether that's for revenue through the digital channel, or whether that's through self-service, or whether it's some other strategic adoption goal. Those are companies that acquire Tealeaf. All of these folks do already a pretty good job of having solutions in place to understand where people are coming from, and they're spending lots of money to drive traffic to their websites. And they have a pretty good understanding of their success rates and where they're failing and things like that. And they also get a lot of feedback from their customers, right? But they're all still buying Tealeaf. And so let's go to the next slide and start to talk about why. So first of all, the point is that you look at the presence in the marketplace. 30% of the Fortune 100 rely on Tealeaf, and again, that's across any transactional vertical. Those are the biggest and best names in the internet. Go to the next slide. I think one of the major changes that we've seen in customer experience management, or just in websites in general, is really a seismic shift in focus in how we look at this strategically. Websites used to be all about, we're sort of an IT-focused task, right? The main, especially when it came to companies that didn't just have an online presence, that may have had a brick-and-mortar presence originally or had both. We really looked at the website as a place the IT domain kind of ran with. We didn't take it as significant. So, if it worked for 75% of the people, that was fine. And, if they wanted a better experience, they could go elsewhere, or, more traditional place, or we didn't necessarily have there wasn't necessarily the same risk associated as well. It was like, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, if you provided a bad experience to your customers, the worst thing that happened was, either you had to deal with them through a more through a more expensive channel, or, you risk the loss of that particular customer. In the era of social media and mobile, what's happening is, what we're seeing is that, 40% of people who have bad experiences on our online channels, they will tell people on social media. So the brand damage not only can be huge, but we're also seeing is that customers want to transact through the online channel regardless of what vertical you're in now, whether it's banking, insurance, and the expectation is that the experience is as good or better than what we're already providing through traditional in on-premise or brick-and-mortar experiences. So we really up the ante in terms of the risk. So next slide. So I think it's generally acknowledged that experience is important, Yet I think some of the things that we're seeing are that we don't really have a great unified framework as to how we approach understanding that experience. So we look at a lot at this slide, which actually didn't translate very well in the PowerPoint when we moved it over, but I think the issue here is really you have these three sort of circles of siloed systems in an environment that doesn't have Tealeaf today. You typically have a web analytics solution that monitors the business, right, where people are coming from and conversion rates and things like that. You may have business intelligence or your own instrumentation to understand, conversion rate and where people are abandoning. And we also have, on the IT side, we see that people have lots of other data there to understand the application itself. And then we have a customer feedback loop, right, which as customers want to tell us something after the fact, they have a way of reaching out either through, telephone contact or email or, like a survey or something like that. But there's a couple of challenges that we face with this environment. The real questions are, how do we proactively understand customer experience? The irony is, if I have a bad time, right, if I ask customers, if somebody has a bad time despite all of these systems you have in place, how do you find out about it? And most times the answer that comes back is, well, if we find out about it, it's through the call center or it's through a survey. It's not from the IT side necessarily, and it's not from the web analytics side. And that's an interesting thing. That's a really interesting scenario, which is, so why would that be? If we've got all of this instrumentation, we've got all of these systems, and we've spent a lot of time implementing them, is it because they're not good systems, or they're just not? The answer is that they're absolutely essential. They just don't represent the customer experience very well. So for example, you can have a terrible time on a website and still convert. You could still figure it out. You may still make it to the end. It may take you 17 tries, but you may still eventually figure it out. Doesn't mean it was a great experience. Conversely, you can also have a bad experience and never hit an error, right? The site might be working exactly the way they pushed it out for a particular use case. It just may be confusing to you or a certain segment of users like you, right? Might not be very many. It may not manifest as a slow page or a traditional error, but there may be some other design issue or flaw that you've run into. The challenge, though, is that if we only have the customer feedback loop, it's very difficult to go from sort of an emotional level of feedback, like I had a bad time, right, to actually coming up with a use case, let alone putting that use case into a business case to understand, well, how many other people is this bad experience happening to, right? So that's really what we're lacking, is that many times we have an awareness either from the customer service side, the customers are having a bad time, but we can't do anything with it. Or we know that we have a higher level of abandonment in our web analytics solution in our at a certain point, but we can't connect the dots between that and something that may be broken or out of whack. We don't really know how to fix it. So despite all of the awareness, we don't really have this way to help proactively provide optimization to the website around advocating for where the customer's having a bad time. So that's really the opportunity. So as we move into the next phase of the slide here, I think part of the problem in some ways, and this is sort of a provocative thing, is that actually you can keep going back to the one you were moving towards. That was fine. Yep, perfect. I think part of it in one way is the way that we consume data is often part of the problem. Most of the solutions that we have access to provide us with either a SQL style interface where we need to query and come up with the pieces of data that we want to bring to the table, right? In which case it's really like, well, then how do we find out things we don't already know? And the other part of it is that people's experiences, human beings in our online stores, so that's what they are, often get reduced down to ones and zeros. You just get aggregate reports. Did they do this? Did they do that? And if we were to build out the rest of the slide here, I don't know if you can step to the animations in this. I think what really is important, and this is something that you become familiar with when you look at Tealeaf, is really that there's this person on a device who's trying to transact with you and maybe having a tough time. They're rotating the device, they're zooming in, they're zooming out, or they're going through the same step in a process a whole bunch of times, which getting the same, red flag or stop sign put in their face with some message saying, you're not doing something right, you're not doing something right. And we have a tough time understanding, getting from some level of, here's an abandonment report, go find the problem. Whereas what we're really not saying is, well, where are our customers actually struggling? So again, you may have heard of replay, and we'll talk a little bit about replay in a little bit, but the real question then becomes like, well, how do you get to any of these interesting sessions? So to go to the next slide. Obviously, replay you've heard of, right? We capture every single web session in real time. So Tealeaf has this incredible scalable data stream where we sit inside, and today it's only on-premise for those of you who are going to ask this question about the cloud. That's on the roadmap, but for now this is on-premise software. So we sell, IBM Tealeaf sells licenses to customers, and we also analyze the traffic that they're going to capture, and we recommend hardware, and we'll come back to that in a little bit. But the point here is that we're recording every single session in real time, and we make those sessions available not only to be replayed like this, that you can faithfully see what anybody clicked on, what they did if they went in circles, but we also analyze that data for reporting purposes, alerting purposes, and as we'll talk about around things like customer struggle and around putting that into context to understand not just let you replay sessions, but to actually understand when people are starting to struggle more in real time, to quickly get you to sessions that are going to tell you something you don't already know about your customers, and then allow you to rapidly understand this is in fact a business problem. Is this just happening to, this guy, and if he's in the end people are affecting the conversion rate, people are still able to figure it out, or is this 25 people a day in this particular use case who just can't figure out the problem? So next slide. I think one of the other secret sauces of Tealeaf, if replay is the one that sort of gets in people's minds first about Tealeaf, I would say the other one that actually guys like me really want to be top of mind, and really one of the key differentiators from a Tealeaf perspective, is how we help you become aware of where people are having a bad time. That's really one of the secret sauces. I'll say another kind of provocative element, which is that abandonment by itself is kind of a terrible place to start from a Tealeaf perspective or from a customer experience management perspective. And what I mean by that is 85 to 90% of the people who abandon at a particular point in the process, they don't necessarily leave a trace. They just, they find something they didn't like and they take off. And so if I was just to say, here's all of those people, go sort through them, maybe abandonment is up this week by, 537 sessions. If I say, okay, go look through the abandonment sessions, you'd probably be there all week. So we need something better. And what we do is we say, okay, well, within any given step in a process or something like that, and at first, regardless of whether they abandon, let's just look for people who struggled. And in our world, because we're monitoring transactional websites, we can do some tricks across any website, any vertical. They're basically the same. And what we do is we look for people who are repeating themselves in a way that's negative. So statefully looking at the repetition and even the degree of repetition as a way of creating more meaningful segments. And when I say meaningful, I mean ones we can actually learn from. So the problem may be spread out across many, many different users, but we want to first get aware of it. Tealeaf serves up to us on a silver platter and sort of says, with very little upfront configuration, says, look, these are the people repeating themselves in these process steps, go learn why. And so the beauty of the repetition is that you can see what the person was doing, how the app responded, what they did again, how the app responded again, and so on. In some cases, it can be 2 times they repeated or 3 times, and sometimes you see people trying to do things, in the tens of times, and that's a great way of learning about specific use cases. And then we have a great secret sauce of allowing you to go back and actually create a business case and feel like, well, how many people also have this experience, and what was the conversion rate of that group relative to the norm, right? So we can assign an actual at-risk value that this particular customer obstacle, whether it's putting revenue at risk in some factor, whether it's sending more people to the call center, or whether it's actually then turning away business or delaying business. And it allows organizations for the first time to then sort of take this business hypothesis and say, look, we're going to fix problems that people encounter, not by the frequency of known error, not by some gut feel issue based on triangulating stuff at the call center. We're actually going to take that awareness, find out if it's really a business problem in Tealeaf, and then decide we're going to fix the issues in order that they create the most business impact. Right? So just because you operate Tealeaf doesn't mean the site fixes itself. Right? You have to, part of this is sitting down and saying, look, let's go fix these problems around the business cases that we came up with. But that's the whole point of Tealeaf. Okay? Certainly there's many other uses for this data, but this is the DNA that Tealeaf was set up to understand. So going to the next slide now. whether we're talking about traditional fixed browser, whether we're talking about, you know, a native app, whether we're talking about some other mobile device, whether we're talking about WebSphere or any other technology, that's the value proposition. We want to ensure this online success regardless of the channel. Okay, moving to the next slide. I think there's really a couple of different ways that we look to do that. One is this kind of repetition and pattern matching, the repetition stuff within the transactional spaces. And we're also now developing solutions that include, you know, more usability market type things like heat maps and link analysis and hover click and form field analytics that help us understand not just the transactional spaces, but also the spaces before the customer decides that they're going to transact with you. We can understand some of the challenges there because struggle looks different. It's really there in the top part of the funnel, at the beginning of the process, you know, of the site is really all about, can I find what I want? Is it placed where the person can see it? You know, is this button this size more effective than this one replacement? And that's what incorporating the usability analytics, or CX overstat as we're calling it, into our portfolio helps us understand both sides of the application. Next, please. So I'm going to go real fast on this, just keep it super high level. I touched on it already. You guys can ask more questions in Q&A. But I think the point here is that today it's against on-premise technology. So people run hardware for this, dedicated hardware at the capture tier. We take traffic off of the network level, so we just plug in using a tap or a set of span ports. And so there's no extra hop introduced to integrate Tealeaf. So there's no overhead to the website to record traffic. The website doesn't know the Tealeaf servers are there. The data is mirrored over to Tealeaf, or spanned over to Tealeaf, and then Tealeaf creates a cul-de-sac, a network cul-de-sac, if you will, of real-time information, basically a copy of every HTTP packet. That's where we index it. That's where we store it. That's where we do the analysis. That's where we make a portal available to there within that infrastructure. And this is a many-to-many relationship, I should say, depending on a lot of network variables. But the point is, it's really do no harm, highly scalable, sort of commodity hardware platform. Okay, moving to the next slide. So I'm going to go really fast through this piece here. So really, the point is that there is no one aspect. There is no one Tealeaf. It's not a singular approach. This customer experience management of awareness, discovery, and quantification fits into a lot of value propositions. The traditional ones that I was talking about of just understanding where customers are hitting obstacles and then reproducing and quantifying those in the analytics sense. You use a similar approach within fraud, within customer service, you know, to help customer service agents serve customers faster, not have to ask them questions about why they're calling in. We help there. You can take the data and put this into a business intelligence system to do cross-channel analysis or customer lifecycle journey analysis. We also really help understand, you know, at the IT audience, even though we market ourselves as almost entirely as a business-first solution, we really find that the IT team and the development team become huge customers of Tealeaf because there is no such thing as the unreproducible error anymore with Tealeaf. If it happened at the presentation layer, we will see it. So that's an interesting aspect as well. Next slide. So just building this thing all the way out. Go ahead and go for it there. The typical benefits here we're really looking at, and these are really Forrester derived, really, 3.5% increase in site conversion rates, 1% improvement in customer retention, 0.5% improvement in average order value, 60% in reduction in time and materials associated with reproducing problems and fixing problems, and the 10% reduction in support costs. And for the customers that we're dealing with, these are really big numbers, even though it may not seem in some cases like gigantic percentages. But even the levels of revenue and expense we're talking about, it certainly is. So we can go to the next slide. And really, I'm actually going to blow past this one because I covered most of this. So we'll go to the next slide. Just to point out that for all of our customers and for our partners as well, as we're going through helping customers at the end and the customers understand the impact that Tealeaf can have on their businesses, we actually have a Forrester total economic impact model that we can use, that Forrester built for us, that we commission, that we can actually take customers through and understand based on some inputs that we ask from them under MNDNA, that we can actually then say, what did you, based on the expenses relative that we expect with Tealeaf from both licensing and hardware and FTE perspective, what we can expect in years 1, 2, and 3 and 5, actually 3 years, and then actually they're doing a 5th year for some of these customers now in terms of the economic impact. So we can make that available to your prospecting efforts as well. So going to the next slide, actually go past this one. I think we're really coming into the WebSphere part of this. So I think that unless you, I think we'll go over. We'll wait for Q&A then for Tealeaf comments. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Brian. My name is Angela Opalinski. As Carrie mentioned earlier, I'm a Principal Business Analyst here with BlueSky Technology Partners. So I have many
years of experience working within the WebSphere Commerce environment. Started out as a developer actually back in the late 90s. So come, kind of full circle of my career from development into the BA world, and now I'm excited to kind of take on another hat and working within our Tealeaf practice that we have developed here within BlueSky. So just as kind of a tie between all of the great benefits and features that Brian introduced to you about the Tealeaf product, now let's kind of circle back and see what does that mean to WebSphere Commerce customers. And I think that there's probably some pretty obvious synergies here between WebSphere Commerce and e-commerce solution, essentially, as well as Tealeaf, which it kind of falls within that tool that's really going to help enhance, as the slide says, the market, sell, and service side of the smarter commerce cycle. By allowing Tealeaf customers, so those of you on the audience, the ability to really locate and isolate customer struggles within your e-commerce solution, be able to act upon that information to, one, fix the problem, as well as, take reparative actions with your customers. You increase your customer service, maximize your conversion rates, keep your customers happy, and keep customers coming back to your website. So having Tealeaf working within a WebSphere Commerce solution really does empower you to increase those conversions, have better operations within your site, all the typical kind of ROI that you want to improve upon within an e-commerce solution, like reducing abandoned shopping cart rates. All of those things can really be enhanced and serviced by utilizing Tealeaf within your WebSphere Commerce environment. The great thing, as per IBM often does with new acquisitions, how they really do start the process off down the integration path. So, WebSphere Commerce they've had forever. Now we've got Tealeaf. What do we do with it? So, with the latest feature pack that came out, I believe in June of this year of WebSphere Commerce, IBM has really taken the lion's share of what I would call a great kind of proof of concept of the integration between WebSphere Commerce and Tealeaf. So, just to kind of go over some highlights of what they have done in this, kind of the first stab at it is what I would call it, between the two products. They've taken the Aurora desktop store, which is the latest and greatest starter store available with the product, and have gone through and enabled data capture within the checkout process, both the guest user as well as registered user checkout process. Let's be honest, that's the area of site that people are really concerned about. What's our conversion rate? Why are people not checking out? Why are people struggling with our checkout process? Where are we losing sales? So they've gone through and they've really enabled the data capture for that section of the Aurora store, as well as they've started down the path of kind of building in those that tooling between the two products, between WebSphere Commerce and Tealeaf, by enabling, basically there's a turn-on function within the analytics tab in the store management tool. So
trying to really combine all of that rich functionality of line of business and management tooling in one central location. They've gone down the path with Tealeaf as well by creating basically a checkbox, and I'll show you that here in a second, to turn on the Tealeaf analytics within a tool that's already available. It is supported by the Tealeaf version 8.7, which I believe is the latest version of Tealeaf. So they're getting everything ramped up, ready to go on the latest and greatest versions. A few things not included, and just don't want to be all I want to set the right expectation. They didn't enable all of the pages within the Aurora Starter Store. It is just the checkout pages. So if you're interested in capturing some analytics within like your catalog browsing, your search, some of your account management pages, whatever other ancillary pages you have, that hasn't been done yet. And additionally, if you are using a different starter store, or you've done some heavy customization within the Aurora Starter Store, there may not be a good one-to-one mix here, but the good news is it's really a solid kind of proof of concept. So here at BlueSky, we could help you kind of take that proof of concept, the way that it has been done and been done correctly, and move that into your storefront using the same concept. So it is a really good first step that is available, like I said, with this latest feature pack, version 7 of WebSphere Commerce. This slide really here, if you're not on the Aurora Starter Store, or maybe it's something that's new to you, it is the latest B2C starter store available with the WebSphere Commerce version 7 product. A great storefront and great user experience, user interface, using a lot of the best practices. That it heavily utilizes the concept of e-spots for a great deal of user management. And it has been really optimized for kind of that mobile storefront as well. Some things have been removed, like the drag and drop into the mini cart. That's gone. I don't know that many people used it, quite honestly, but some things like that have been adjusted, which really helps to ease that transition into a Tealeaf data capture as well. Like I said earlier, they've integrated into some of the online tooling. So there is a checkbox to enable the Tealeaf integration within this is the store management function of Management Center. So, I don't want to, again, lead you astray and say, hey, you click one simple checkbox and everything is magically turned on. But that integration has been there. Once you get the software acquired, that is kind of another kind of asterisk statement here. The Tealeaf products do not come with WebSphere Commerce, so those do have to be acquired separately. But like Terry mentioned, we are a software reseller certified within Sparta Commerce, so we can help you if that is something too that you want to go down the path, because it's not always the easiest thing within IBM software, but we can help you navigate through that for the software acquisition to be included in your solution. Just another quick kind of illustration here. Brian was talking about how you can see every step that your customers take within your website. And this is just kind of an illustration of what that would look like. So you have the Aurora Store or your storefront built upon the Aurora Store or WebSphere Commerce running. Tealeaf is running. Somebody called into customer service perhaps with an issue. That customer service agent can actually find that session based upon username or email address, some sort of information. A customer service rep can find that session and actually step through, each individual motion that customer took within the website and see what those inputs were, basically see what they saw. So to Brian's point, that there's no such thing as a unreproducible issue anymore. We can see it. You can see exactly what the customer saw and step through using a browser-based replay functionality, which is really nice. If you kind of look on the screen, there's where the customer highlighted or typed in is highlighted in outlines, so you can kind of view exactly what they were doing. So really nice tool set from not only a customer service perspective, and I stepped back into my my developer days when, you know, some of the most infuriating things I had to tackle were, hey, this customer in Hawaii on dial-up was having this one particular message, and we could never, error message, and we could never figure it out. We could never reproduce it. With a tool like this, we would be able to see exactly what they saw, as well as have access to what browser they were using, you know, what browser version, all, you know, what operating system they were using, without them having to find it or having a customer service agent kind of help them navigate through their online, you know, system and figure out all that information. It's right there at their fingertips. So as a developer, I see so many benefits of having something like this running just from a troubleshooting perspective. So that's just an illustration of what that interface looks like, and if anybody on the call is interested, we can even take you a little bit further, you know, and show you an actual demo of this Tealeaf interface, which is really very, very impactful in my opinion. I guess just in summary, these benefits are exactly what Brian had shot up on the screen earlier and kind of walked you through and said, yeah, you know what, these numbers might not look huge, but in your overall budget of an e-commerce solution and keeping that e-commerce solution up and running, they can be really, really impactful within your organization. And one that I kind of think, it's on the bottom of the list, but I think from the perspective of an organization using IBM WebSphere Commerce, this reduction in IT development costs with better prioritization of site projects becomes very important when you stop to think about how feature packs are released to you today. So with WebSphere Commerce, you're getting a great benefit. You're getting all these new features and functionalities released to you, you know, 2 or 3 times a year. And, you know, sometimes they matter to you, sometimes they don't, sometimes you're not sure, but ultimately, you know, it's a great release process, but there is always, you know, some cost involved in getting some of that stuff up and running so you can take advantage of it. Because of that, and because you're constantly being introduced to new features, this Tealeaf tool can really help you understand and quantify, you know, if those features are going to be impactful to your solution. They're going to help you understand your customer-specific behaviors to know, hey, when IBM releases this new feature, that's really going to matter to me, and help me prioritize that as you're looking at budgets for, you know, updates, improvements, migrations, all of those fun things that, you know, happen during the lifespan of a WebSphere Commerce solution. So that one, to me, I think, is really, really impactful simply from the WebSphere Commerce feature pack release schedule and the great things that you can take advantage of within that. So next slide. And just to wrap up and to help you understand, you know, Terry did a great job of explaining to you who BlueSky is, and admittedly we are, you know, historically a WebSphere Commerce development team. That has been our wheelhouse. That's what we've done in the past. But you know what, as IBM has grown and expanded the smarter commerce solutions, so have we. We have expanded our offerings and our capabilities so that we can kind of keep up with the Joneses and keep our offering current with everything else that's going on, because, you know, WebSphere Commerce is a great product, but, you know, there are so many complementary things out there that are almost becoming requirements to be successful in the e-commerce world. So we've kind of taken that and understanding that our customers, you know, want to be able to take advantage of these complementary products, and we've actually built a solution delivery platform for the Tealeaf solutions. You know, we've kind of built upon our proven WebSphere Commerce methodology and created a process to assist our customers in the full life cycle of a Tealeaf implementation. You know, obviously, we know you want this tool. You're going to need this tool to help create that visibility into your website and get those insights that you need about customer behavior, capture that ROI, capture that, you know, those quantitative numbers of lost sales, you know, help to give you some answers so you can you can provide better service to your customers. So we've got a whole, it is really a life cycle within our solution delivery, kind of from soup to nuts, from product selection and sizing all the way out to advanced services, you know, going through installation, discovery, enablement, so teaching you how to best use Tealeaf within your organization. The great thing is within each one of these kind of progressions, we understand that the customers may already have Tealeaf or be at a different level of their maturity with the Tealeaf product. So we actually have entry points within each one of these offering points. So if you already have Tealeaf, it's already installed, we can jump in and help you improve management and maintenance, or we can help you with some more advanced services such as integration to things like voice of customer products, that sort of thing. So we have entry points kind of along that continuum, but we do have a full solution delivery methodology that we can utilize to get you from start to finish. And, you know, at this point, you know, as we all know, we're creeping up on October very quickly. You guys, I'm sure on the phone, especially you owners of B2C solutions, are looking holiday season right in the face. The good news is, you know, the implementation timeline for something like this can really be squeezed into right now, getting you up and running before the holiday season to really start to get a great lion's share of information and data about your customer interactions, because you know that's going to be a ton here in the very, very near term. So I think this timeline continuum kind of looks long, but it's definitely something that can be done in the very near term to get you up and running in this very crucial commerce time frame. So that's kind of my spiel. I think we've covered a ton of data, both from Brian's great intro to the Tealeaf product, as well as, you know, Tealeaf and WebSphere Commerce working together. So at this point, I'd like to open it up to questions, points of clarification, just general feedback to the audience.
Well, thank you, Angela, and Brian, thank you as well. So again, our question and answer session is an open forum. You know, a lot of people make you star 5 to ask your question. We're not going to do that. We're a little less formal here. So each of you have the capability to unmute yourself. So if you have a question, please feel free to do that. You can also send me a chat if you'd like to ask a question that way. So with that, does anyone have any questions? I'm going to assume silence means no one does versus the fact that you can't unmute yourself. However, just in case, I am unmuting you. So again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. You should all at this point be unmuted and have the ability to speak freely on the phone. Okay, Brian, do you have any final words then?
No, just thank you for your time. Obviously, if you feel free to reach out either to Terry or to me directly if you have further questions or wondering how the enablement process will go from here, we'll be happy to help you.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. So again, thank you, everyone. This concludes the webinar. If you do need more information, my contact information as well as Angela's contact information is on the screen now. Please feel free to drop us an email, give us a call. Feel free to go out to BlueSkyTP.com, look around, learn a little bit more about us. We do have a contact us section, so you can fill out something there. I think each of you probably had similar experiences to register for this, so feel free to send any requests for information through that too. And with that, again, thank you very much. Have a great day. We look forward to hearing from you.